has come to me. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Running fast to the edge of my life. Jesus saved me in time. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Running fast for the edge of my life. Jesus saved me in time. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Running fast for the edge of my life. Jesus saved me in time. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Running fast for the edge of my life. Jesus saved me in time.
You ready? You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. wait, what are we doing here? There we go. Haha, technology. Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, gays and gays. I was like, there's two people here. What the fuck's going on? This is your humble host, Hunter here. Hope you're all having a good Sunday. Happy Sunday to you. I am really honored and really happy to be here with first time on the show, which is crazy. Like I was sitting here thinking about it, I'm like, fuck, you haven't been on the show before. Hi, Milo. This is Milo making an appearance. You know him from the title. Got Alex here. Alex, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. It's been a nice casual Sunday. I'm excited to be on the show.
The best kind of Sunday is a casual Sunday. So I'm gonna be real with y'all. I've been up since about 5 this morning. Don't really have an excuse for why I've been up this early. Okay. As y'all know, if you've listened to the show before, I will on occasion smoke weed every so often.
What?
And I know. For those of you who are in the Hall of Awesome chat, y'all are very aware of this. So I finished up Paris is Burning last night. Actually, or this morning. I ran through most of it last night and then kind of rewatched it again this morning. And then I watched Walk Hard in the Drama. So I've already watched like 3 things today. So I'm doing real good. It's been a productive Sunday. But yeah, Alex, so you know what? I'm gonna kind of give you the floor a little bit because this is actually the first. I don't think I've actually reviewed. I didn't review Griffin Summer yet, so I think this is actually the first. Oh no, I did review Griffin Summer. So it's the second thing I've reviewed for Pride Month. Still got a lot of stuff I want to get knocked out, but yeah, you were the one who recommended one of the films that we're talking about, which is Paris is Burning. So I had heard about this quite a bit from friends and other colleagues. To kind of just jump in, what is your experience with Paris is Burning? How did this get on your radar?
So the first time I watched it was years ago, and I was really just drawn in by the title because it was just something that was on Netflix, and I didn't know anything about it because I wasn't surrounded by like a large queer community at the time. And I watched it and was just sort of blown away by, I don't know, just how intimate and joyful the queer community has been for a long time. And just to see the influence that has had 30 plus years on is crazy.
I think it's crazy that you bring that up because, like, so I mean, fuck it, let's just kind of jump in here. So I think the thing that kind of caught me off guard is it's in the 80s, which I just wasn't expecting, to be totally honest. So I was like, oh shit, 80s set, okay. And to kind of go back to that time a bit, you know, when you think about like the AIDS epidemic, that was seen as such a, you know, like a queer only problem, like, oh, you know, like the gays are getting AIDS, who gives a shit? And then when it started becoming like, oh no, it's not just specific, then people started to give a shit, as unfortunately is often the case. But so much of that fear, there is definitely that's touched on in this documentary. But again, that was something that kind of like almost like a culture shock. I'm like, oh, because it's so fucked to say this, but AIDS has been such a thing in the world for so long, to kind of go back to the genesis of it and when it felt like it was just a problem over here. So we didn't have to worry about it. And then you see how far AIDS research has come, and with more prominent people getting it and everything. Now it's one of those things where people actually care. But again, it's gross that it has to happen to you in order for it to, to matter. But there's but I really like that that's part of the documentary, because I do think that people at points kind of just brush past that, and it's like, no, this is very much, it was very much vilified. Like I still remember, even as a kid, because my dad and I like had conversations about it, my mom as well, but I remember because we had, my dad was, my folks were musicians. Gay people being in the house was not an uncommon occurrence growing up, and so it was really one of those things where there's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of fear in the gay community, a lot of like how do we not just live, but how do we combat this and the stigma around this? And I think one of the things I love about the documentary so much is that so much of it is just about joy and just about existing. And we're doing this during this month, obviously. I think that's something that really doesn't get lost. We had the anniversary of the Pulse Club shooting just what was that, like 3 days ago, I want to say.
Pretty recently.
Yeah, it was only a couple days ago that I just shared something about, which it's crazy it's been that long. I was like, holy shit, like we're already at anniversaries on it. Like, but this documentary does a great job of really showing that people just want to exist and people just want to be happy. Right. And like, you being an asshole during Pride, like the reason why Pride Month exists is because you just won't leave people alone. That's really what it breaks down to. And I say the royal we, and I very much have to call out the Black community on this, because I think that'll be something that ties into the film that we're going to review later. I think the Black community, while it's gotten better, it is still a space where there's so much like toxic masculinity and so much prejudice and hatred towards the LGBTQIA community that shouldn't be there. Like you've heard me go off on my rant about Frank Ocean, about how Frank Ocean should be one of the biggest things in music right now. And honestly, I think there's a part of Frank Ocean that just kind of went, nah, I'm good. Like, not everyone wants to go through the struggle to just exist, let alone to be famous. And I think that's a prime example of like a queer artist who was very unfairly just hated on. I mean, we could talk about Lil Nas X all day too. I mean, that's a whole other thing.
Right.
But in terms of this thought, yeah, go ahead.
Like, Paris is Burning opens with a man saying, he goes, my dad told me I was born with 3 strikes against me. I was Black, male, and gay. And that pretty well sums up what you were just talking about.
I love that you brought that up, because when it opens with that, I went, oh, okay, yeah, like this documentary is this is a very confident documentary. Like, it knows very much what it wants to say. And I, from jump, it's like, okay, you're going to go through as through most documentaries, you're going to go through some uncomfortable moments, but hopefully those moments, warrant some self-reflection that makes you go like, okay, how do I treat people? One of the things I think that really shocked me about this is, and I think this is the case for a lot of documentaries, sometimes it's overwhelming how many people you're introduced to, because there's quite, like, this is only like 70 minutes, like it's just over an hour, but there's a lot of information they throw at you. Like, I was like, but I appreciate that they're kind of just like, no, like, even if you don't retain everything, you're getting basically like an exposition dump into the into the gay community. In terms of,
I like that it introduces you to such a variety of people who are all involved in that community, because they all have such like unique aspects and perspectives into what they're doing there, but they're all there for the same common purpose. And it just feels like a really bold unmasking of the queer boogeyman in the time of the AIDS crisis.
I think so much about something like Will and Grace from the perspective of, I think so many uneducated straight people are like, every gay person is like Jack, and it's like that's not the case. Like, God, no. But I know the eye roll, but you know what I mean though. It's like, it's very much like,
that's like the acceptable gay.
Yes, exactly. Like, it's it's the same way I felt when Obama was running. It was like, oh wow, Obama speaks so well, and it's like, oh, you get what you're saying by like when you say this shit, right? Like, you think every Black person's going to be hood, and I really appreciate that they go through the spectrum of, of, of different types of queer people, and really like getting to the history of drag, because I do think that there's so much kind of tied back to the whole Jack thing. I think there is so much stigma around drag in terms of like, it's always, now I will be the first to admit, when I've gone to drag brunches and stuff like that, sometimes there is that aspect where it's so loud, I'm like, I just want to put my headphones on and just have mimosas. Like I like sometimes drag brunches are just too loud for me. I'm just like, all right, like I like, good for y'all. This is not, I don't have the energy to do a drag brunch right now.
You have to be fully prepared for that kind of energy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Brunch. By the way, yeah, if you've never been to drag brunch, it is something you should go to. Like drag brunches are fun. Do not misunderstand. But if you're not ready for loud, that'll probably shock your ass a little bit. But honestly, but I think something I've always appreciated, because the nerd in me and the artist in me, is like the pageantry of drag and the actual costuming of drag. Because that shit's not easy. Like it's not easy to just like put together a character and not just like commit to the costume, but commit to the character itself. And there's so many people in here that they show off that I went, oh wow, you have like bought in to this character. Now it's just about you fine tuning it.
Right. And I like how much it examines that this was like, especially the gender performance aspect of drag was born of trans people needing a space where they can exemplify the self that they see. And like the reason they make their own costumes is because of, you know, trans women not being able to find women's clothing that was made for them, which is also a huge problem for women in general because of beauty standards and whatnot.
Well, it's crazy too. I mean, I think, you know, just, I mean, being a bigger guy my whole life. I mean, finding a pair of size 40 pants that fit, like it's so sad how much of a win that still is in 2026. Like when I find a pair of pants that fit, that I'm like, oh wow, I don't have to like I don't have to like have someone like adjust these or hem these. Like holy shit, like what a fucking world we live in. You know, it's crazy how. And I think that's something else that really this documentary gets into, is how the spaces you need, the fact that you need a space to feel comfortable when the world isn't comfortable enough for you. I think that is such a, I think that's something that will be lost on people that just don't take that half step back. Like, because they talk about the balls being a safe space. And how it's like, you know, I want to be able to, you know, I want to be able to dress like this. I want to be able to, explore my sexuality, explore my artistry. Like it's not just about, and that's another thing. Like obviously people boil things down to often down to just sex, because it's like, that's simple. And I think people just don't want to have those conversations, or really have those internal conversations where it's like, that's a whole other thing in itself. One thing I really like that this gets into is the houses. I really like how it breaks down, like how there's actual some rivalry between these houses, because look, as someone who's definitely hung out with a lot of sassy gay people, this is exactly how it is. Like I've seen I've seen people be like, like they think they're cute, like they're in this house, like fuck, like that shit. There is no shade better than gay shade. I will say.
Absolutely. And I loved how much the documentary goes through and defines all these different slang terms.
Yes.
And like different cultural aspects of reading and shade and all of that, especially in like between the houses, with each of them having like their house mother, who's essentially just like their guide and paragon and how to express themselves the way that they want to. And then just like the competitive nature of like just beauty in general is really fun.
Well, I think that's something that's always been so ingrained in not just beauty, but fashion, is there is that aspect. I mean, you think about, hell, you can break down just to shoes. I had people I had people in high school give me shit because I would wear, I liked Nike quite a bit. I still like Nike, but I wore Reebok a lot in high school, and I had people going like, "Oh, dude, really? You're wearing Reeboks?" It's like, oh, really? Like, and I think that's one of the first times me being kind of like conscious of the fact that, oh, brands are a thing, and people like as a big tech nerd, like I fully admit, like I'm a big Sony dude, like in terms of a lot of my tech, like my TVs, I was like Sony all day, like my speakers, I lean certain brands. So it's very interesting to see how they break down fashion, and how I'm blanking on the term for stealing. I know I wrote it down, but mopping, thank you. Yeah, I love how they, because the person they're talking to about mopping, they're trying so hard to dance around it. Like there is this point where they're like, well mopping is like, well, it's sort of, and then they just go like, it's stealing.
It's stealing. I love that guy so much. He's like, he's just so enthusiastic about the culture and everything itself, and talks about, oh, maybe next time I'll walk at the ball. Next time, I'm just not ready yet. I'm still working on it. Maybe next time I'll walk at the ball. Here's what mopping is.
yeah, like it was such a. But what I honestly love about that too is that it does get into something that, that's something that I've talked about, and we've talked about, how like, you want to look good, you want to feel handsome, pretty, whatever term you want to, that fits you. But there is so much, shout out to the Afternoon Tune. What up, Josh? Josh over at the Afternoon Tune. If you're not subscribed to the Afternoon Tune, check them out. They're good people. Shout out to Nick as well. But but I love how they broke down getting costumes and like getting like their personas. Alea and I, like Alea's big in the Drag Race. I watched the first, I think 4 seasons, maybe 5 seasons of Drag Race, and then I just kind of fell off of it. But donate to Hunter so you can get a ring light. It's funny that you say that. It's daytime, really. Like, you're gonna take a ring shot now. But I know, like, I definitely, one of the things about Drag Race that I love, like, it's my favorite thing about Drag Race is the lip syncing for your life. That's where I'm just like it's basically the pro, like whenever there's a pro wrestling promo, where I'm just like, this is the most intense part of the show. I can't wait to see like what they pick, like what costume they go with, how intense the shit's gonna be. I love that shit, and I really like how they get into the ball aspect of, this is this category. This is what this category means. This is what like it would take to win. Like the amount of actual stuff to get into, there's quite a bit they break down for you.
Definitely. I like how much it focuses on just how we all have this innate desire to feel glamorous and beautiful and seen and desired. And I think if all those people featured, then we're able to see like how far drag has come in ways of like how successful people can be just by being a drag queen. They would be so excited for that. And at the same time, part of me doesn't like that it's become so narrowly just about the gender performance, because it seems like it's a performance just about persona in general. But you can't divorce that from it being a gender performance.
There's okay. I'm gonna connect it to this. I hope you get where I'm coming from. I think there's a lot of gatekeeping in drag in the same way that I feel like there's gatekeeping in geek culture. And I really hate, like, I'm so happy that there are kids who, like, my generation, like, wasn't so lucky to grow up with, like, I mean, I would say like RuPaul was like the person I can think of, like, but I don't think people remember. Like, I remember RuPaul in the 90s. RuPaul's getting death threats like fucking day, like it's honestly is kind of a miracle RuPaul's still around, considering what they went through in the 90s. I know obviously they haven't aged well as a person. But you know, when Ellen came out, like that was a big deal, and people were ready to, you know, do some really terrible things to Ellen. So like I'm very grateful that this generation has someone, you know, like Bob the drag queen that they can look up to, there is less of a stigma around it. But given the state of the world right now, it just feels it feels exhausting to do drag, because you can't just do drag. Like there has to be all this other shit attached to it,
right?
And then, you know, you have to worry about like, oh, like why are drag queens reading to kids, you know, yet you take your kids to church on Sunday. But you know,
right.
and
it's really just exactly because they're wearing dresses too.
Just true.
But like the reason these drag queens are like reading books is because they look like a storybook princess. They're usually like super glamorous. But drag can be so much more than that. And like when we start talking about femme, I'll talk about how like as a trans femme person, I now work in a blue collar job in a red state. I go to work in what would be considered drag because I dress like fully butch and masculine, and it feels like a performance to me.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay. Now has that been a thing recently, or has that been just since you got this job, or?
So it's definitely more so with this job because it is in the realm of straight white hetero sort of normative stuff. But that's sort of the way that I feel like, as someone who lives in, I guess, a place where, like, I live in Austin, which is helpful that, you know, it's slightly more acceptable to be queer here. But because it's still in a red state, there's still people who feel emboldened to not be so cool about it.
Yeah, as someone who lives in Nevada, like it's definitely like there are those pockets of blue. But also, you know, our governor fucking sucks. That's right, Joe, you fucking suck. But you know, and there's that aspect of, you know, I work at fucking Carhartt. Like, trust me, I'm dealing with a certain set of people who like walk in, have this immediate look of surprise, like what are you doing here? Like it's kind of like that Brooklyn Nine-Nine flashback with Captain Holt, where he walks into the police station and they're like, are you here to turn yourself in for a crime? And he just kind of like looks at him like, fuck you. like that's basically how I feel every day at work.
And like a couple weeks ago I went to an EDM festival here in Austin.
Oh hell yeah.
And I went fully femme for it and was like full makeup, skirts, everything. But I still felt like I had to ask a friend to go to the bathroom with me because I was like, I'm not going to go use the men's room and I don't want to get harassed in the ladies' room.
Yeah, that's I hate that for you, but I get it, but I hate that for you. Like it's I really like the way too that the movie does kind of get into those aspects too, in terms of like passing off as femme or masculine. That's like there's actually an award that they have for that. Like they talk about what's the one, like the businessman award, where it's like you may not be able to be an actual businessman out there, but in here, you know, like you have to you have to like really commit to that role.
I also love that they had a category for gay people to pass as straight.
The gay people passing a straight award. I was like,
that was my favorite.
well, when you think about it, that's something that still happens now. Like I still remember when a lot of people like kind of lost their shit when they found out that Hunter Schafer was like a trans woman. Like I was like, they're hot. Why do you care? Like, okay, I've mentioned this on the show before. Milo, stop trying to jump on my chair, on my chest. but I think if people okay, let me rephrase that because there's no think. I know that people would be a lot less miserable if they would just stop trying to define fucking everything. Like,
Yeah.
you will drive yourself honestly fucking nuts by always doing that. Like I was talking to one of my friends about it, how oh god, who's oh yeah, because I was just watching Over Her Dead Body, and I saw Timothy Olyphant. Great movie, by the way. I have had my man crush on Timothy Olyphant has been a thing since Deadwood, and no Deadwood when I see him, but I but I remember talking to my friend about it. I was like, I'm not gonna have some like giant you know, giant like internal like, oh god, that make me gay because I think Timothy Olyphant's attractive. It's like Timothy Olyphant's a cool fucking dude. Like, who wouldn't want to hang out with Timothy Olyphant? But it's like, but
and so what if
people, you do? Yeah, but it's like certain people, it's like, oh, I have to make this a whole fucking thing, and then I have to like pray about it, or pray it away, as it were. And it's like y'all, like you can't live life constantly doing that to yourself, because if you're constantly shaming yourself for everything, you can't actually learn about yourself, because if everything is wrapped in shame, you're not fucking learning. And I don't like, I wish people could just have that thought and have that conversation and just learn that. Take that as someone who's almost 40. I'm telling you, your life will be so much easier if you can just remove shame from it where it doesn't need to be there. And I really like that that's part of this documentary as well. One of the people in here talks about how so many of these people are just looking for someone. And I think that's and not to pry too much, but I mean, is that something you kind of related to? Because there's a whole story with that I was like, damn, okay, like they kind of go deep on that.
Like so many of them were just, especially at that time, and even now, people will come out and sort of be rejected by their community or their family, and so they go to find somewhere where they can be and be accepted and have family around them, which is why they end up in those houses like we talked about.
There was one girl in here that broke my fucking heart, because like they were talking, because they were just talking about how they wanted to feel pretty, they wanted to feel beautiful. They had, it was very easy for them to pass as a woman because they have like smaller features and more like younger looking features. And that's a whole thing in itself, is if you're accepted, if you can pass, like that's a whole other level of acceptance that a lot of people just don't have, which is its own conversation itself.
And it didn't shy away from how so many trans people then and even now, because they aren't without like familial support, in order to financially support themselves, often resort to sex work. And how just unsafe that is for them, because sex work is unsafe anyways. But when there is the risk of, death because someone suddenly realizes that you weren't born the gender that you're presenting, that they will commit violence in order to cover up their weird feelings about possible homosexuality.
Which is so wild to me. So like I think wait, have I shared the story? Maybe I haven't. Fuck it, why not? So like I went so I went to go see oh, what was it? I went to go see Amazing Spider-Man with this dude. This guy, when I was living in Austin. And I've talked about on the pod before, where like my male friendships mean a lot to me, because I don't feel like I have like a ton of ones that I'm really proud of, because I've always had kind of weird relationships with men in terms of not feeling masculine enough, and that's something that I have talked about on the show. And this guy thought it was a date. I had no idea he thought it was a date, and so he ends up kissing me at the end of the night, straight up like "I love you, man" style. And I was like, oh, yeah, so I'm not gay, but this was really nice. Like, I didn't have an Ace Ventura reaction where I like burned my clothes and got the plunger. It's just it's like it happened. Okay, like misunderstanding, it happens. But all that to say, it was one of those things. Josh saying, "Wow," like, yeah, dude, it happened. Like, but it was one of those things where, pardon me, where I just wish people could kind of just let shit be what it is and just like not, like you shouldn't beat someone up for that shit or let alone anything like remotely resembling, unfortunately, what some of these people go through. It's like,
yeah,
like, okay, you didn't know. It happens. Just call it what it is and just leave it where it is. But the fact that so many, and to your point, obviously, the whole conversation of, oh, what does this mean about me? It's like, I think the bigger question should be, what does it say about the world that people feel like they have to, like they can't be themselves? And like, that's like, I think that's the bigger question you should be asking. But again, that warrants taking a half step back, which people often don't do in situations like that.
Right. This is the perfect time to start talking about Femme, because that explores that in the modern day.
Yeah, and so like to kind of wrap this up, I'll say myself, this is kind of like something like, actually this would actually be a really good double feature with this, something like Boys Don't Cry, where it's one of those things where if you haven't seen Boys Don't Cry, you should watch Boys Don't Cry. Just know it's gonna hurt you. Like, it's really gonna hurt you. But given, again, the times that we're in, and the way that this administration is actively targeting the LGBTQIA community, you this is the month for you to take a step back and really try to see things from the gay community's perspective and to really educate yourself, because at the end of the day, if you're a cis person, you need to be a better ally. And it's something that I, still constantly working on, trying to be better. But you can't be a better ally if you're not trying to see things from the perspective of people who are being oppressed and who are being targeted. And I think this documentary does an incredible job of really giving you a glimpse into that. One of the people, as we mentioned, meets this tragic as fuck end that I was just like, God damn it. And like, it's sad because as they're talking at points in the documentary, you could almost feel it coming. It's like there's just this little part, like there's this part in the back of my mind. I was like, oh, I don't like the way this is being presented. It feels like there's a shoe that's going to drop, and
it's very, so they'll be sitting talking about how they want to be, what they want in their future, what they want from their life, how they want to present, what they want to evolve into, and just finding out that none of that was ever going to happen is really devastating. And it feels the same way when, like, in a war movie where some guy talks about the family he has back home, and you're like, oh, well, he's gonna step on a landmine.
It's my last day on the force, like, it's that trope.
And it's especially devastating because it's reality. It's not even fiction.
Yeah, like you think about so many people who paved the way for what drag is now, and the fact that we have stuff like Bros and stuff like Bottoms, like and Booksmart, like we have these movies that are being seen by so many people, but all of that evolution has been built on people like this who are doing this shit at a time where it's even less safe than it is now. Right. And so like that's something that I really hope that as we celebrate Pride Month and we celebrate the contributions, I hope that's something that's not lost on people.
Right.
In terms of a letter grade, I mean, highest grade is a fan-fucking-tastic. That's where I'm gonna land here, because I really did feel like I just love I love shit set in New York. I do admit, like sometimes I can just be like eye rolling, like okay, yes, it's in New York, of course it's New York. But I really like the vibe that this gave off. I really like I really like kind of the graininess of how this was filmed too. Like I really liked how it's presented. It felt very punk rock in that way. So I really, you know, so
it's
I
all
really
very handheld.
Yeah. So I really dug that. But yeah, I mean, really between the costumes and the amount of people that you do meet and their stories, I thought this was very well informed. Milo, what do you have? Oh, you have a receipt. Okay, that's fine. But I really dug this, and I really do have to thank you for putting this on my radar because I brought this up to a couple of my friends, and they're like, "Dude, you haven't watched that yet?" I'm like, "I know, I wasn't aware of it. I'm sorry."
Hey, there's no right order to watch everything in, so
yeah, there's too much content, people. I'm trying, but yeah, fan fucking tastic for me. But yeah, Alex, your final thoughts on this and great.
This is just so historically relevant and necessary and becomes more so all the time. And it's for being such a short documentary, it's really comprehensive in that it interviews people of every diaspora, and it has like older people who've been doing drag since like the 60s and the 50s. And then people, you know, like the young man who was telling us about all the different terms, who is just getting into it himself.
Wonderful. They're so good.
Yeah. It's just so like beautifully human and wonderful and celebrates joy and sadness and just the whole human experience of queer people, and it's a fan fucking tastic for me. It's
Hell yeah.
it's an every year watch for me. I love it.
Yeah, this will definitely be something I add to the list every year for Pride Month. This is streaming on HBO Max right now, by the way, people. So if you have Max, I would highly recommend checking this out.
Check it
Again,
out.
it's barely 80. It's like 75 minutes. It's well worth your time, and it flies by.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of information in it as well. So yeah, that's our review for Paris is Burning. So moving on to our last review for the day, Femme, which is directed by Sam H. Freeman, and I'm gonna butcher your name. I'm so sorry. I'm just gonna say In Shun Ping is what I'm gonna go with. Based on the short of the same name. I totally forgot this was a short originally, so I actually watched the short this morning because I'd never seen it. And the short does end differently, which I was like, oh, okay. I like interesting this is how you went about it. So this stars George McKay, who plays Preston, and Nathan Stewart Jarrett, who plays Jules. It tripped me the fuck out because the first time I watched this, I was like, why does that dude who plays Preston look so familiar? And he was in 1917. I was like, God damn it, that's where I know you from. My favorite movie of that year, by the way. And
I think the first place I saw him was Captain Fantastic.
So it's funny that was like after I realized 1917, like 10 minutes later, I was like, wait, and then I was like, wait a minute, fuck, and then my brain was blown all over again. So I recommended this to you.
You did. Thank you.
Yeah. I figured you'd enjoy this. So I saw this in 2023. I'm gonna be real. This is one of those movies that I was just like, I saw the cover art, like the artwork for it, and I went, okay, I'm intrigued just on kind of how this kind of looks. Because as I say on the show a lot, I'm a whore for A24, and this felt like very A24, like neon, like something that I would watch. And so I watched the trailer and I went, yep, I'm wanting that right now. So I literally rented it that night and watched it. And then Alea came home as I was finishing it up, and I was like, God damn it. And she was like, what did you just watch? And so then we watched it again, or I watched it again with her. And she was like, holy shit. And so it's been that movie that I've been recommending to all my LGBTQIA friends, and like, y'all, if you have not seen this, like, you need to watch this. This was an honorable mention. It didn't crack my top 10. it was a big year. 2020, it was a really, but I had at 4.5 stars. Like my Letterboxd review is very glowing. Like, cause I adore this film. So to just jump in here, Nathan Stewart Jared, who I mentioned, plays Jules. Their drag name is Aphrodite, and great drag name, by the way. Like I heard that, Absolutely. I was like, yeah, okay, that works. And I think the thing from Jump that just made me immediately go, fuck yeah, is the introduction for Aphrodite. It's one of the best film sequences of anything that year. Like, I was floored by their introduction. I was like, this feels fucking epic. Like, it's a very random comp, but stick with me, people. It reminded me so much of the walkout scene from Creed 2, where Tessa Thompson is singing Michael B. Jordan to the Ring, where it felt epic in this way that I was like, damn, this is like goosebump inducing. Like, I had goosebumps watching that scene.
So she enters with such presence, and like,
yes,
Aphrodite like almost doesn't seem like enough to describe the gravitas that she brings.
Yeah, like there's so much aura, as the kids say. There's so much aura with her. I oh my god, it's so fucking good. But that introduction is fucking amazing. And then they have a great performance, and then they end up going to this convenience store. Let's just say Walgreens for sake of American comparison. But because honestly, I would buy us something like this would happen outside of Walgreens. So let's just say Walgreens.
CVS, isn't it?
Oh, there you go. CVS. Yeah, there you go. Jules, still in drag, goes to go get some cigarettes, and that's the first time they meet Preston, which is kind of a lie, because as they're going into the club, they see Preston like really eye fucking him. Like they're acting coy, but even like as I was watching, I was like, you're not even being subtle in your eye fucking. Like damn, like
just across the street full.
Yeah, like straight up, like yeah, like goddamn, like easy. And so the thing about Preston, as most men like this are, just a dick from out of nowhere for no reason. Just like being just like, dude, they're getting cigarettes, leave them alone. And now look, I have often admitted how petty of a person I am. My therapist has confirmed this, but Preston is being a real dick. Jules could have let it go, could have brushed past it, but they chose to retort. And look, I respect the retort, because the retort was great. And it got that David Blaine, when they're performing magic in front of black people reaction. Like, his friends were like, "Oh yeah," like, "Oh snap!" they got you. And but then unfortunately, there's a receipt after that retort, and man, they beat the shit out of them. They like assault doesn't feel like a strong enough word. Like,
it was like true humiliation.
Yeah, like it's one of those things where
so like, I don't believe that if Aphrodite hadn't been riding the high of just giving that performance, that they would have given him the time of day of saying anything.
1,000%.
But instead had to let the man know that he had a "don't touch the side's" dick, and that just completely obliterated his perceived masculinity, that we later learn he's performing to these men around him all the time. And so with that performance in such a precarious position, he just goes into full rage and really breaks apart, like, doesn't just beat Jules to a pulp, but like strips him not only of his garments, but like of his dignity. and just leaves him in the middle of the street like that. And it's a tough fucking watch.
It's so it's really interesting. This is very much kind of it's a show don't tell, but they show you just enough for the point to get across, but not like
and not gratuitous.
Yeah, it's not like Sam Levinson is directing this shit. Like there is this there is
it's not like point. The Revenant where you're like, at some point this bear has to get tired.
Yeah. Like, I mean, depending on what club you go to, but but there is this point where they cut away and you get the title screen, and that was just just perfect, like perfect opening. Honestly, I think the opening is about 10 minutes, I want to say roughly, but the opening is just, it's perfect. I really do think the opening is like, in terms of setting your tone, it's one of the best films of that year, of just going like, okay, now we're off to the races. And yeah, Josh, happy Pride Month to you, man. So we jump ahead 3 months, and I'm very curious to get your thoughts on this person. So Toby is one of Jules' roommates, and I'm not gonna lie, I hated Toby. I hated Toby so much. Toby,
same.
Toby is that friend that is so self-indulgent, they're not able to perceive how their actions or how inviting people into their orbit could affect other people around them, and they're so blind to that. And there's this point where something occurs, and we'll get into it, but there's this point where they do something, and I just sat there and went, you asshole. I just went, you fucking dick. And I got so upset because their thing really sets off this chain reaction where I'm like, so much of this could have been avoided if you just weren't such Toby. I'm just like, if you weren't such a fucking asshole.
Right. But so like after this traumatizing experience, like Jules quits doing drag. So like this entire powerful persona within them has just been stripped away from them. And they've resorted to sitting on the couch and just playing Street Fighter as Chun-Li, which is a really fun, like pretty literal metaphor for this inner female coming out and just beating up Zangief, who's probably the most like masculine, big buff hairy man, just over and over again. Probably had to feel pretty cathartic. And then Toby just comes by and says some cunty shit. And it's just like, like Toby's just like, you're gonna have to get over it sooner or later. I'm like, fuck you, dude. That's not helpful.
So here's the thing too. There, like, obviously there are points where you have to, like, even if you're still hurting. I know I said hurting, like hurting. No, I said it like that.
Yeah, it sounded like a hurt.
Thank you. But obviously there's these points where with trauma you have to attempt to at least make progress or move forward. It's only been like 3 months. I'm like, this is a traumatic ass thing. Like, this isn't like a year ahead. It's like months, like 90 days. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And you're telling me,
and it wasn't like a breakup or a skin knee.
No,
it was a full-on hate crime where
it was assault.
It was assault, a strip of dignity, and to the point where you weren't sure if they were just gonna kill Jules.
Yeah, straight up. And like the way that the aftermath of them just like going home and just in that realization of being like, oh wow, this thing that I love, and that's something that I appreciate that Jules does talk about at points, how this thing that they love that made them feel confident, that's now attached to this it's kind of weirdly, it kind of made me think of the Fablemans, actually, where it's like, oh, you used to like love shooting stuff, but now your parents your parents' affair is kind of attached to this thing that you love. How do you like, there's that trauma attached to it, so how can you move forward from that? And it's a fascinating question Jules has to kind of answer internally, of how can you move forward with this thing that gave you such confidence, where that confidence, ironically, it helped trigger the assault. Like how do you move forward with that? And I really like, and and I've talked about myself on the podcast, about myself. I really do love the conversations this movie has about masculinity, about about what is feminine, especially from the Black perspective, because I cannot even, if I had $1 for every time someone called me the F word for writing poetry or crying or holding doors open, like I would own Microsoft at this point. Like I would be so incredibly rich. But that's something that my dad went through. And that was one of those conversations we had before he passed, about being confident in your own skin, and understanding that there will always, unfortunately, be a section of Black men who are so miserable and can't show emotion, and feel like showing emotion is a sign of weakness, that they'll always try to tear you down and tear down your masculinity, because that's one of the first things that Black men go to.
Right.
And there's a real ugliness attached to that I do not think is talked about nearly enough, which obviously ties into how the lack of sometimes how the Black community has accepted our gay brothers and sisters. And so I really like what the film has to say about that. I like the fact this turns into a thriller, which I was not expecting at all when I first watched this, because there is that point of, what is this movie going to be about? And so Jules discovers that goes to what would you call it? Just like a bathhouse, right?
Yeah, it's a bathhouse, and it's clearly one that is frequented by gay men to cruise.
Yeah, and he discovers Preston. And what I really like about Preston is that, and you touched on it, Preston is very much like the, quote, alpha male in his group, the way he's originally presented. But then you realize, as you hang out with Preston more and more, he's really kind of the joke of the group. Like, they don't respect him at all.
No. They're like, this is our little rage bait friend. All we have to do is just wind him up and let him go.
Which, it's like, damn, that's like, knowing that's your pecking order, that's your thing in the group, that's gotta fucking,
like, they literally talk about him as if he's a dog.
Yeah, these straight up are just like, it's pretty fucked up, actually, how flippant they are about it. But I think, and to kind of throw it to you here, what did you think about Preston in terms of his dynamic with Jules as that continues to kind of develop?
So I feel like a similar dynamic was explored in the show Rami, when there's an episode about the uncle who's very, like, deeply closeted.
Yes.
And how, like, there's like, the pendulum swings really far in the other direction, where they're like overperforming this masculinity in order to dissuade anyone of finding that out. And I felt a lot of that when I was younger, because I grew up with 4 brothers and a dad who was like hyper masculine and very traditional, and I grew up on a farm, and so there was like all this pressure for me to be hyper masculine in ways, when really I was like doing theater and dancing and stuff like that. And so in order to not be just immediately labeled a fag, I would have to act super macho. And I always felt like so trapped in that, and it didn't feel like me. And I also was super temperamental, because I had to like lash out and get rid of any inkling that I was ever any sort of a homosexual, which didn't work.
I was like, I don't think so.
No. But like, I've always been too effeminate for that. Not too effeminate, but just too effeminate to get away with performing masculinity like that.
Yeah.
But to see that depicted so accurately is amazing. And then, you know, as Jules develops this really harrowing relationship with Preston that
Yeah.
forces him to stay in a similar closet, with Jules having been stripped of this strong feminine persona, he's suddenly a blank slate upon which he can start performing his new drag of being a straight man.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
It's such a fascinating now, and I have to say, God, do I have it up here? Freeman and Junping also wrote the script, and I will say, from lesser writers, you would fall into this trap where it could almost be like parody, and
this could have easily been cartoonish.
Yeah, and I was kind of watching it like, okay, you're walking like the finest of ropes here. Like, how can you have this commentary and yet like kind of justify the code switch? Like, it's really interesting how it gets into the real thicket of that, because there is that point where Jules starts to develop feelings for Preston, but then there's that whole like, this motherfucker literally took my like something away from me that was so important to me, and they could literally like not give a shit. So it's like, how do you deal with that? What, like, how do you heal from that assault when you're hanging out with the person who assaulted you? Like is that even possible?
And what speaks so much to Jules' like performance in both forms of drag is that Preston is none the wiser.
Yeah.
And the whole time, that was like, there are so many little inklings that he could latch onto if he were just a little bit smarter.
Yeah. but see, I think that's so interesting. I mean, to kind of piggyback off what you're saying in terms of growing up, like when my dad passed, I was raised by my mom and I have a sister who was like 8 years younger than me, and so it only man in the house with 2 women, being 14 years old, like getting more into writing, getting more into poetry, trying to in any way find a way to move past my dad dying, going to therapy, dating, having my church being like, well, like, you're the man in the house now, which, by the way, don't say that to kids. Don't say that shit. No. That's like do not say that. It's fucking gross as hell. So
right. I mean, next thing you know, that 12-year-old's gonna come home in a wife beater with a pack of cigarettes. Like, seriously, don't tell me the man of the house. They have no idea what that means.
Yeah, it's
such what that should mean.
It's such a gross level of expectation to put on a fucking child. Like, don't do that to kids. Like, Jesus Christ. So, like, dealing with all of that, and then as as a black man in like one of the whitest part, Pismo Beach, California is very white. In case y'all weren't aware, so going through all that, and really having those conversations with myself, like, what does masculine look like to me? Like, why does it matter what people on the outside think of and having those conversations and wrestling with my religion, and like it was a lot, and I don't think I think what I really admire about this film is that the film has so many balls in the air that is juggling in between, in just in terms of Jules as a character. And I was really kind of watching it almost, I don't want to say afraid, because that's too strong, but there's nothing worse than watching a movie that you're like, oh man, this is so good, and then they kind of drop something where you're like, damn, like I that was like here, and now it's like it's still really good, but it's like here now because they dropped the ball with A, B, or C. And I kept kind of waiting for this movie to potentially do that. And for me, it never did. I was like, they found a way to talk about masculinity and about being feminine from the Black perspective. They talked about abuse. They talk about revenge porn because that is a huge component of. So, okay, I want to get into that with you because okay. And I'm going to sound so gross when I say this, but I can't think of another way to phrase it. Okay, revenge porn, bad. Okay, we've got that out of the way.
Yes.
Given what Jules goes through, I get the plan. I understand why their brain goes there.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's like doing that ironically would be outing someone, which is very not good. That's very bad. Yeah. Also, again, fellow cis people, don't do that shit.
Yes.
Learn from X-Men First Class. Don't do that shit. But there is this moment where when you realize that's their plan, and you're like, damn, that's really gross, but they did assault you, so it's right. it's such a moral, because again, petty person, all about revenge if you can get it. But I fully admit that put me in a place where I was like, damn, I don't really know how to feel about this. And I think that's actually a really good thing because, like, I get please.
The film shies away from being pedantic, which is what would make it cartoonish and shitty.
Yeah.
It instead presents you with a moral dilemma that really doesn't have a good yes or no, right or wrong to it, in showing you like a pretty brutal example of violence against the queer community. And this individual's reaction is to eye for an eye, but with something that isn't so physically violent as it is just like having been stripped of their persona. They're like, what if I stripped you of yours?
Yeah.
And how that puts them in the same predicament of being potentially in danger of the same violence.
Yeah.
And the possibility of another retaliation to that left me just like for like an hour and a half.
So the thing I will say too about this movie, it's so tense the whole way through. Like, I was so like, when he started hanging out with Preston, I was like, please just go look. So okay, here's the other thing that I actually had to like almost internalize, like not even internalize, but just kind of roll my eyes at, because my first thought was, or one of my first thoughts was, why doesn't he just go to the police? And I'm like, a black man going to the police, like that always goes well. And I'm like, okay, so like silly me, why did I like, I mean, there are currently some files about a certain guy that aren't being released, so it's like, why did I think going to the authorities?
He didn't kill himself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, he didn't. It's one of those things where I'm like I almost was mad at myself for even having the thought. I'm like, why did I even think that? Why would you go to the police?
That's how effective it was.
Yeah, I know. Like I started spiraling. Like as you were thinking about reviewing this, I was like, oh wow, that's right. I had that thought, and that's such a dumb thought to fucking have.
Yeah, and like you can see how much of his own like self-worth and like self is lost in that initial violence, that this is suddenly something that's motivating him.
Yes.
And has replaced it, where you're like, none of this is good for you. None of this is making you feel good. No. It's just making you feel something. And that's fucked.
Yeah. Like it's such a dark path that Jules is going down, but you totally understand why they're on that path. And then you have that like weird that weird conversation with yourself where you realize like these two have chemistry, but then it's like, how much of that is Jules just wanting to like buy into this shit and like really like commit to this new drag, this new drag role? Like how much of that is actually real? How much of that performative? And there's this point where the first time they hook up, which, oh my god, the first time they hook up and then and their friend and his roommates come home. As someone who's been there, there's nothing worse than being in the middle of a hookup and your roommate comes home. So I was like, oh no. And then I was like, oh no, there's 3 of them. That's really bad. Like, this is not
there's
good.
3 of them. And they were all the guys who were there when the initial violence happened. And you're like, fuck.
Yeah, like it's like this is not good. And I love how Preston straight up tells Jules, like, stay here, like fucking stay here. And of course, what does Jules do? They put on clothes.
Who seemingly has nothing to lose. It's like, I'm gonna put on you boy clothes and walk on out here and do boy shit.
I was like, what are you doing? Don't do that. And I was so stressed. I was so mad. I was like, Jules, you are trying to, but
they say curiosity killed the cat, and Jules went, how?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like fucking, like, have you not been through enough? And that sequence in itself is so tense. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, oh my god, please go to the next scene. Like, please tell me that Jules is gonna be okay. There's a scene where they're playing Street Fighter, and I was amazed at how tense a Street Fighter game was. I'm like, this is insane that you're making Street Fighter stressing me out. I was like, what are you doing? I will say, as we kind of begin to wrap up, the last 25 minutes, last third of this, Preston, when Preston realizes who Aphrodite is, it's some of the best act. Like, they go through like the 5 stages of grief in like 30 seconds. Like, you see them getting like that initial like what the fuck, and it turns into like angry like what the fuck, and then it turns into like, oh my god, like I care for this person. And I thought it just, and you just see everything in this moment, and it's so fucking well done. And I was floored by that.
Also, the choice of costume for Aphrodite's return to the stage, fucking incredible.
It's chef's kiss.
Very poetic.
I love that shit so much. And then in the actual kind of final confrontation that they have is just heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking, and it's so intense. And not to spoil the end of the movie, but I won't lie, I know some people will be mad by how this ends. I really like the way this ends. I know some people won't, and I'm normally one of those people who I really hate when endings are kind of wishy-washy. I'm like, no, tell me what happens. But in this case, I think it's actually quite effective and actually bumped it up for me.
Right. The ending kind of feels like the ending of The Graduate, where you're like, okay, now what is what I call that kind of an ending.
Yeah.
What I find so effective about that is because it makes it feel that much more real, and it makes those characters have so much more life to them and texture than if like this happened to Jules and then some other magical faggot comes along. It's just like, you can always find more love in the theater again, and doing some bullshit like that. I hate that kind of toxically positive horseshit. This instead was like, look how much this degraded this human being and how much they are no longer themselves, and what it didn't take for them to get that back in some perverse manner.
And I think that given how the movie commits to so many of its themes, I think it would have felt like a betrayal of a lot of that if it gave it that ending. So I appreciate it. It's very similar for me to the ending of Baby Reindeer, where I was like, God damn it, like I get why you ended it like this, but I get that some people who are, and I'm gonna sound pretentious as hell, but don't think as critically. You're welcome. I get how that's going to make some people feel, but you're wrong. Like this is the ending to go with.
Yeah, it keeps it from feeling like hollow and exploitative, and instead feels like true representational and like genuinely human instead of some fantastical bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. So so with that said, I want to shout out real quick James Rhodes, who was the cinematographer. Dude, holy fuck, you nailed this shit. I was like, God damn, like this is how, like anytime they're in a club or anytime they're really anywhere, it really doesn't fucking matter. Like they nailed this shit. They absolutely nailed this shit.
The lighting is magical. It adds
yes, it is.
so much.
Like I would go to this club. Like I couldn't go to this club quick enough. Like oh, they did they were the cinematographer for Adele's One Night Only show, which is also very well shot.
Wow.
That makes actually a fuck ton of sense. Okay, yeah, fair enough. With that said, oh, they did Elton John's Farewell from Dodger. Okay, yeah, I'm seeing a pattern here. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, they have a thing for divas, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. But my final thoughts on this, I really do hesitate, and I was actually talking to my friend Faith about this. Shout out to Faith about how, in the same way that I'm very over Black films about slavery, and that's all. Like why does every film have to be about Black pain? I'm very much in that same space about LGBTQIA films, where it's like, why does it always have to be about someone that community suffer? Like I get that, and I do understand that there might be some hesitancy because of that. What I would tell you is tell people who are kind of hesitant in that space is I think this movie is so rewarding in what it has to say about trauma and about code switching and about masculinity and being feminine. Like I think there's so much this film has to say in a shockingly short runtime, because the fact this is under 2 hours is astounding to me, because this could have been 2:15 and I would have been like here for it, but this is an hour,
especially with like, I would say it has pretty limited dialogue.
Yeah, it's not a ton.
And it's so far from having just two-dimensional characters that are stereotypes. Everyone is so complicated.
Yeah, that's a perfect word for it. But yeah, this is an hour 40. Like I was amazed. I was like, damn, that fucking flew by. I just watched Scream 7. That was 2 hours. I felt like that was 3, and I wanted it to end. I was actually sad this wasn't longer. This could have been 2 hours. I would have been like, yeah, but this really is like one of those films when I think about something that maximizes its time. Femme is one of the first titles that comes to mind that I've watched in the last 5 years. Like I have genuine admiration for this film. I have genuine admiration for the performances. George McKay and Nathan Stewart, like a tip of the cap to you both. Y'all killed this shit. I don't think you could do, like, not everything needs a sequel, but I would love something else set in this world if they could spin it, because I would love to revisit this world. It doesn't even need to be of Jules or Preston again, but I would love to go back here, is what I'll say. So, but yeah, to the surprise of no one, this is a fan-fucking-tastic. I think I gave it an A+ when I originally reviewed it. now that I actually think about it, I may not have posted that review because I think I kept going back and forth on it and I couldn't land on a grade. But yeah, this is a fan-fucking-tastic. I've seen it 3 times because I did watch this like a month ago. I actually watched it a little early. But yeah, this is one of those movies that if you have not checked out Femme, it's like $4 to rent. Like, I cannot tell you enough how much you need to rent this shit. Like, it's one of my favorite films in the last several years. So
yeah,
a fan-fucking-tastic for me. Alex, your final thoughts and your grade, please.
I'm sorry that you had to nag me for 3 years to watch this movie because it's a fan.
I've been nagging you about this one. Yeah, like I was telling you.
I appreciate it because that movie was really up my alley. It's so riveting and complex and human and just beautiful to look at, even when it's horrid.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I couldn't get enough of it. And like, I had to pee the whole time and I'm at home. Like, I can pause it, but I couldn't because I needed to know. Like, I could have paused, but no, I couldn't at the same time. It was so good. And I plan on showing this to as many people as I can. Good. And it was such a perfect pairing with Paris is Burning.
It is, yes. It's very much so.
Because in some ways it feels like a certain form of wish fulfillment, and like it being a revenge film about the crimes committed against trans people or people in drag. And at the same time, it's cool to see, like I talked about with Drag Race, how what these people dreamed about 30, 40 years ago in the space of drag balls is now somewhere where someone like Aphrodite is a goddess and performing to like a sold out club and being honored and glorified in such a cool way. And yeah, it was a perfect double feature. I think other people should watch it as a double feature. Watch it in whichever order you like. You should probably start with Paris is Burning and then with Femme.
Yeah. But yeah, y'all, please check this out if you haven't. It has a lot to say, and it's done in such a efficient way.
Yeah.
I've been listening to that score again recently. We even mentioned the score is fantastic. The music is great in here.
Yes.
Josh, honestly, man, you should review both. You should definitely like I said, they're both quick watches.
It's collectively less than 3 hours.
Yeah. Paris is Burning is on HBO Max, man. So, and then like I said, I think Femme is like $3 to rent. So like it's
yeah,
you might even be able to find it for VPN.
I regret not purchasing it because I would probably rent it again. So I'll probably just purchase it.
I think I saw there's a physical release, so I think that might be the route I go, because I would like to. I'd like to be able to give this to people. You know what I mean? Like,
hell yeah,
yeah. Because I'm physical media people. But those are our thoughts on Paris is Burning and Femme.
Thanks for having me on. This has been a long time coming as well.
Yeah, no, I'm so happy you're able to come on. Yeah, as far as what am I reviewing for the rest of the month? Heated Rivalry. I'll have my friend Liz on next week to review Heated Rivalry. I got halfway through it and then something else came up, so I'm gonna start it over. I'm just gonna watch an episode a day for the rest of the week, and I will. Josh, I hate you. Amelia Perez review next. God, you're such a monster for bringing that up. Like,
because we didn't get enough cartoonish depictions of trans people already.
God, oh man, you know it's really sad. Quick story time, and I'm sure this is probably why I'm not getting shit from them now. Netflix sent me like an Amelia Perez box, so they sent me like the Vine. So they sent me like they sent me El Mall on a CD. Like they sent me El Mall. They sent me the script. They sent me the a screener for it, and then when I reviewed Amelia Perez, I was so Alea walked in while I was watching it, and I was maybe 40 minutes in, and I was doing this, like I was so angry, like I couldn't, like I remember you talking about in the chat, like I was flipping my shit. Did
that box set come with special features like commentary by Dave Chappelle?
You know, it might as well have, because I like. Well, what's so funny is like I didn't really hear about it until like the Oscar machine started kind of getting momentum. And I was like, I kept looking at the box. I'm like, I guess I should just watch this because everyone's saying like Oscar contender. And then as I was watching it, I had that same feeling I had when I was watching like Hillbilly LG, where I'm like, why would the fuck would anyone vote for this in any way, shape, or form? And I remember being so mad. Like I've had issues with Zoe Saldana for a minute, and this is one of those points where I'm just like, you bitch. Or I was just like, you read the script and you went, yeah, sure. I'm just like, oh my God, you suck so bad. The penis or vagina song like still haunts my dreams. That's still one of those things. Like
it might as well be the gay or European song from Legally Blonde.
Right, seriously. Like
at least that's funny.
That's one of those things where I'm like, man, if like a neuralizer existed and you could just like remove Amelia Perez from my brain, I would love that so much, because it's still one of those things that just angers me that it exists and that it won a fucking Oscar, or a couple. Oh God, I won a couple. Fuck. Anyways, but yeah, Josh, no, my review. Wasn't I on your review for Amelia Perez? I could have sworn. Anyways, but
I like that one comment completely derailed you.
I know. I was trying to wrap this like, Josh, goddamn you. Now you got me thinking about Amelia Perez again. Fucking A. Yeah, watch Femme. Don't watch Amelia Perez. I'm begging you, do not.
And
watch
for the
Amelia
love
Perez.
of God and all that is queer, watch Paris is Burning.
Yes, that is on HBO Max. HBO Max is still a thing for right now. We'll see how long that's, But Alex, is there anything you want to tell the people before we get out of here? Any rants, anything you want to get off your chest before you leave?
Sure. Happy Pride. That's about it.
There you go. Thank you so much for being on, Alex. Josh, I hate you for that. Thanks, so much for derailing me. But we'll be back later this week. Oh yeah, Disclosure Day. I am gonna watch that, so I'll have a review for that on Thursday, and then Heated Rivalry next Sunday, y'all. But thank you so much for coming on, Alex. I love you. I appreciate you. Happy Pride,
I love you too.
Happy Pride, y'all. And we will talk to you soon. Have a good one. Again, damn you, Josh.